Earth Angels, it's Elaine from Renegade Spirits Tarot with your moon reading for this lunar week. We are in the first quarter moon right now, and we'll have that waxing gibbous waxing all the way up to the full moon in Gemini on the 30th, at which time we will have our next moon reading. Earlier today, the sun entered into Sagittarius, so we're coming out of that dark underworld Scorpio energy and coming into the more playful energy of Sagittarius. So even though it's the darkest time of year and it's getting darker all the way until Yule, we can cultivate that inner light and bring the greens indoors. All right, so I've got my moon card at the center of my signature moon spread, and we'll shortly be shuffling the other cards to look at our pull for this lunar week. But something else I wanted to bring up about the moon is that it controls the tides, so there's that ebb and flow of the moon that happens daily, as well as that waxing and waning of the moon as we notice its different phases throughout the month, or throughout the lunar month. So we'll pay special attention in this reading today, like what energy seems to ebb or flow in the reading. All right, so as we shuffle the cards for this week, take a moment to draw in a deep cleansing breath. Feel the life force energy of your breath fill your whole body. Just feel that awesome relaxation of taking a moment for yourself. And let go of any expectations for the reading. And let go of the events of the past week. And come into the present moment and listen to that awesome sound of the shuffling of cards. Spread coming from here. Wow. Ooh. All right. So when I talked about the ebb and flow of the tides, when the tide is ebbing, it's pulling itself back into the source of the ocean. So we can think about that metaphorically, like coming back into our own source, withdrawing our energy into ourselves to connect with spirit, to connect with the collective, to recharge our batteries. And then the flow of the tide going outward, that's about how do we bring our spirit, out into the world, like through the character of our egos to have the adventure we need to have, or, play the role that we need to play out in the world. So it's interesting because, where the water is here on the moon card, I feel like the cards that are in the path and crayfish positions for us this week is, they're very outward facing. We have the horse with the child on it of the sun coming towards us. And we have the star. I mean, she's to the side, but she's, her torso is towards us. Her breasts are towards us, which is a very important symbol in this card. And the water that she's like pouring towards us. So it's like these two cards, of what we are to follow this week, the path, and the crayfish, the part of our unconscious that we need to bring out into the light in order to follow that path. So basically, like, kind of the two big suggestions that the tarot is making to us this week are with that ebbing energy of the water, right? Can you feel that, how these cards are coming out? And that's kind of like, if you're thinking about the moon card, it's like pulling that water in. And then the cards representing where our mind is at, the card that corresponds with the moon. The moon's the mind in this reading, in this spread. Where our mind is at, and then the physical manifestation of our mind, which is connected to these yods. Wow, there's a beeping horn. So I feel like that's just the universe really agreeing with what I'm about to say right here. Okay, so that horn had a lot to say, and I had to wait for it to finish speaking. But I will resume talking about how the energy in both of these cards, the energy is being pulled into the card. We have the figures on the boat going towards that distant horizon, and we have this shadowed figure looking into the card to all of these different cups, representing all of the different magical processes of alchemy. So looking at, what I want to say with that too is with, the energy being pulled into this cards, I feel that pulling the tide out from the moon card. So basically what we have to follow this week is going in to our spirit, and then the way that's going to affect our mind and manifest physically is us actually bringing our spirit out into our pursuits and into our lives. So with what we are to follow with the sun card, whatever it is that gets you excited, that makes you so happy. The sun represents your most authentic self. He's riding a horse, and the other horses we see in the tarot, we see on the death card, and we see all four of the knights in the tarot court. Now, I'm not an equestrian person, so I don't know if this is really the term, but I think you would say this is the only horse in the tarot that's unbridled. So what I mean by that is, the horse has no harness, no reins, no nothing. It's a totally wild horse. So riding the horse of the sun card is just like having the feeling of ultimate freedom. This is all of the beautiful freedom that is coming towards us on the other side of this coronavirus, right? And it's interesting too, because I think, the good thing to come out of the coronavirus is all of this protesting against racial injustice and against other injustices. So, like out of the restriction of quarantine, was born like people's connection to want to fight for more freedom, and because things got so bad. What else do I want to say about the beautiful sun? Yeah, also thinking about following the sun, just taking it quite literally to get out into the sunlight. Let the sun shine on your skin as much as possible in the next week. We really need that just for health, for vitamin D levels this time of year, for our sanity, for our happiness. Also thinking about what the sun is doing this week and following the sun. The sun had just transited earlier today into Sagittarius. So connecting to that Sagittarian, that really adventurous energy. Everything that you have been missing since the coronavirus, that you've been wanting to do, what your dreams are, that feeling of freedom and adventure that you want to have, and letting go of those feelings of restriction. We'll talk about that, the Devil card too. Just really hold that inside your heart right now and feel it coming, because it is coming. Just as the days will get shorter and the nights will get longer, and after the solstice, when the sun is reborn as baby New Year, we know the days are going to get longer. That beautiful freedom is coming.
So feel it inside of you now as you follow the path of the sun this week. Now, the crayfish, the part of your unconscious that you need to bring out into the light to follow this path, is the star. So I was talking about the breasts as an important symbol, right? So we have these vessels pouring out water. And there's like a lot of different vessels in the tarot. You know, all of the cups, and, you know, we have the vessels on the temperance card as well. And the vessels are often connected with the womb energy, or the source, or the ocean. You know, kind of talking about the water and the moon card as being, you know, the source of the unconscious, the collective unconscious. Anyways, chalice is usually connected with the womb energy. But these chalices in the star, I connect with the breasts and like the breast milk, and thinking about that as the great mother, not of the earth, but this is the star card. So this is the great mother of the cosmos, right? All that is out there in the universe that is shining towards you to give you light and give you life and give you, you know, everything you need to grow. And thinking about that as a part of your unconscious that needs to follow this path of the sun. I mean, I can kind of see like a, you know, mother and child relationship between these two cards. And it's almost like saying you need to nurture yourself, you know, like for all of your dreams to come true, all of that beautiful freedom that you want to feel, that you can feel in your heart already. You know, you're the one that needs to nurture and grow that, because you know, no one else is gonna do that for you. The cards, well, let's talk about these side cards before we get into the moon and yod cards. So on these extreme sides, we have the cards representing the western and eastern towers. And I say this every week, but I'll say it again for the new viewers. The towers represent the constructs of the ego. So they are distractions on our path. Things not to be paid too much attention to this week. Things that will distract us. And they represent our fantasies and our fears, respectively. So looking at the devil as the fantasy, I can just hear Rob Halford in my mind. You give me evil fantasies, right? Like the devil represents our desire to be, you know, chained and attached to, you know, too much severity and too much discipline. I think here it's really the fantasy of having control over our lives. You know, it's not self-serving for us this week. It's like we want to connect to that awesome feeling of freedom. And I think that we've kind of constructed a fantasy, you know, like an illusion about, you know, what it is that we need to do to get there. But we're wrong, because our brains are stupid and our hearts know everything. Even though I like where our brain is at this week. We'll talk about that later with the Six of Swords. But yeah. Say goodbye to the devil this week. As much as I love him, and I hope he comes back again somewhere else. But this week, not our friend. The card that is representing our fear for this week is the Hanged Man. And looking at the Hanged Man as a fear, I think that's the fear of self-sacrifice and stagnation. I think it represents the fear that this is never going to happen, the disbelief that we could ever feel this way for the first time or ever feel this way again. And don't listen to that fear inside your head. You absolutely have everything that you desire coming towards you, and even faster and better than you can imagine. I feel like a lot of good things are really right around the corner, and we really need to hold on to that thought this week. And when I talk about self-sacrifice, I think that there's a fear of losing our ego a little bit in this sense of freedom, or losing some of the material things that we've worked so hard of to really follow our true path and what it is that we really want to do, not the things that we think we have to do to get from point A to point B, but just the thing that we want to do. So let go of the fears this week along with the fantasies. Bye. See you next week, maybe, or see you never. The cards that are coming up as the dog and the wolf to support us this week are animal guardians on our journey through the night of the soul. We have the Seven of Swords and the Two of Pentacles. And now both of these cards, like actual dogs and wolves, I think both of these cards kind of have like a cleverness about them, right? In the Seven of Swords, we have the archetype of the thief. And we've talked about his negative aspects as he's come up in one of the tower positions in past weeks. But, he has these really positive aspects of, well, like, I think it kind of represents your own wits and how your own wits and cleverness can support you. And how sometimes it is good how you can be concealed about things. You don't have to give everything away. And that's going to be supportive for you this week. Can also represent your mystique a little bit and how that's part of your charm. The card that is coming up so that's going to be what is going to support us, in the tame aspect of our life. What is going to support us in the wild aspect of our life, the wolf. We have the Two of Pentacles. And I think his cleverness has to do with how he is juggling two things and being in the Suit of Pentacles, the earth element. A lot of times I'll think of these two things as balancing, work and health, or time and money, anything that has to do with the physical earthly realm. But being as it is here in this moon reading with this beautiful round golden sun and this beautiful round golden moon right near it, I actually see these two coins as being the sun and the moon. And what's going to support us is balancing the solar and lunar aspects of ourselves, right? So the sun being the authentic self, the whole self, and the moon being, the unconscious part of ourself that is, connected to all other consciousness, that is moody, that is confusing, that is mysterious. Balancing those two aspects of ourself, and also balancing what the sun and the moon are doing this week, because they're doing different things, right? The sun is getting darker and darker and darker until it's reborn as baby New Year at Yule. Also, Lemmy's birthday. Whereas the moon is in a waxing gibbous this week. So it's already, half full, and it's getting fuller and fuller and fuller until it's going to be in the sign of Gemini, opposite from the sun in Sagittarius. So something to think about there with a balance that's going on in the Two of Pentacles. Now that is going to support us in the wild aspect of our life. The card that is coming up for where our head is at this week is the Six of Swords. And I love this. When I'm looking at this card, I'm thinking about this song from this band. I don't know if they're called Witch Find or Witch Fiend because it's spelled a little bit funny, but let's call them Witch Find. But they have a song called Leaving Nadir. And nadir is like the lowest of the low points, right? It's like the worst times that we've all had in this past year. And I'm even feeling for a lot of us, like, where we were not having a good time even before COVID. I think some things were not happy in our lives. And
The Six of Swords, I think, is just our mind's readiness to leave that all behind and go to smoother waters. And the way that that is going to physically manifest in our lives is the Seven of Cups. And each of these contents of these 7 cups is an allusion to an alchemical process. So, through this ability to leave the worst behind, we're going to have an amazing alchemy of the spirit. And we have these 7 cups. We have the 7 heavenly bodies of the classic world: the sun, the moon, Mars, Venus, Saturn, Jupiter, Mercury. And we have the 7 chakras. And we have the 7 colors of the rainbow's arc. So have a wonderful week following and connecting with this archetype of the sun. And I will see you on the other side of the rainbow for our next moon reading on November 30th at 4:29 a.m. Thank you so much for watching the moon reading this week. If you want to support my work, there's a link to buy me a coffee in the description, and you can also email me to book a personal reading, or if you were confused about anything I said in the moon reading and you wanted some clarification, get in touch with me. And I hope somewhere in there was a message just for you. Until next time, bye-bye.